Art Attack, 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 Attack.
Every fortnight we look at what's going on in the world of visual art, specifically and what's going on in Melbourne's galleries and artist-run initiatives. Joining me in the studio, Snaith and Ace Wagstaff.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
How's it going?
Yeah, good.
Pretty good. Yeah, Melbourne's nice and muggy and warm already, and
Cranking up again.
yeah.
Yeah, we're heading for a top of about 31, 32, and it's certainly already, very muggy and humid out there.
I think by Monday it's 36. Yeah, and just progressively hotter each day. That's the worst, and there's no storm in between.
But at least we know it being Melbourne, by about Tuesday it will have plummeted about 15 or 20 degrees.
It'll be
There'll
snowing,
a thunderstorm in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we've been to see a really awesome show that I think I can safely say both of us very much enjoyed.
In fact, we were so excited about it. We kind of spoke about it
Before.
at the end of last fortnight's radio session, and we were debating about, oh no, it might not still be on after 2 weeks, but never fear. It's Sean Bailey. Order and Decay at Daine Singer, and it'll be on until the 9th of March, so there's plenty of time to go check it out.
It's a lovely long show. It's been from January till March, which
it's a good thing about these summer shows as well.
They stretch out. And Daine Singer, for those who don't know, Daine Singer is a person, I should say, or not just a space. And Daine is a young gallerist, and she's very, very articulate and very lovely lady, and she has a space in Flinders Lane, sort of on the other end, so not the Anna Schwartz end, the other end of Elizabeth Street. And what's the address there?
It is 325 Flinders Lane in the basement.
In the basement, yeah, so it's nice and cool. So on these hot days, I highly recommend. I went on the last stinking hot day, and it was a nice little oasis of art in there. And it's all concrete and cold and, no light or sunshine. So it's great on these kind of days. And Daine's very chatty, so she's great to
very
have a talk
generous
to.
with her time and ideas, yeah.
And very approachable. And I know that sometimes people that aren't in the art world or whatever feel funny going into commercial galleries, but this is one that you shouldn't feel weird about, and and anyone can go at any time. So it's always good to remind people that, I think. For some people think you've got to make times or appointments, but you don't. You just wander in.
Yeah, I mean, you wander in within the operating hours. And
you don't break in on the weekend.
For Daine Singer, it's 12 to 5 p.m. Wednesday to Saturday, which sometimes catches me because I do the sneaky thing of squeezing as much in on Wednesday to Saturday between 12 and 6 p.m. And I sometimes just forget that, Daine closes an hour earlier than most. But,
but she has. I think this show is one of those shows that she'll probably get a massive audience going to. And I know she said that the opening night was pouring with rain, and it was still packed in there because Sean is an interesting fellow. He's a music man as well, and has a massive following as Lakes. I think he's called, or Lakes.
Lakes, yeah.
So that's sort of what he started out doing, if I'm right, and then went into more visual art sort of a few years ago, really, and now he's cranking out the paintings.
Yeah, and these paintings are a kind of great development of his practice. If you look online and look at his previous work, these, and I don't mean to say it in a bad way, but these are a lot more tightened and, I guess, structured than previously, or appear so. And that's not to say that, the kind of stochastic way of his working is lost. It just means there's more elements added to it. For example, you still get these lovely long organic forms and shapes happening, this sense of deep time, kind of in a Lovecraftian kind of way of, passing of geology and topography, but there's also sorry.
No, it's all right.
There's also now these fabulous hard edge elements added to it, kind of stripped back, and these pure forms as well as these really beautiful organic shapes.
I think that's the thing that strikes me first about Sean's work, is that it's quite personal in the way that it's quite introspective. Like, you look at it and you can see the process that he's working through, which we should explain for the listeners is quite an interesting mix, where a lot of the works he's used either a board base or in some cases a linen, like a fine linen base.
Or even glass.
Glass over a frame. And then he has sort of collage elements that are cut from different sources and then paint over the collage. And so a lot of the actual literal material in the collage you can't see, but you can see hints at. So there's lots of hints at sort of Roman sculptural heads and slight nature scenes, and he has a stock of slightly literal material, but he then obscures that with this kind of organic mass of acrylic, and I think he
Working
just
over.
uses acrylic, doesn't he? Doesn't
Yeah.
use, yeah.
And what I really like about his way of collaging is there's no kind of editing in a way, even though it's edited later in the painting and working over. He uses a lot of the time these big blocks of
Colour.
Yeah, of pages from magazines. So instead of kind of isolating certain figures or landscapes or animals or any other number of phenomena or paraphernalia, he just uses this big block of page, this visual data that then gets given the same treatment, worked over with these masses of colour and shape.
And I think I always think for paintings like this or work like this, the other material or element really is the titles. And I think Sean's work, even just the title in itself, Order and Decay, we were just discussing before we came on air, just makes me think of it's such a great evocative title. It makes me think of either a scientific kind of notion of entropy, really.
Or a heavy metal band.
That's what I just kept thinking. It has to. And I've been Googling for ages going, it has to be a band, it has to be a band, but it's not.
It sounds to me more like the title of a fantasy novel.
Order and Decay.
Yeah.
Such a great title. And it's sort of that idea of order, then decay, I guess, in nature, where you have the order of nature and then
one after
entropy.
another.
Yeah, but putting the and in there to
it
make
can also
them
mean
opposites.
these are two things, order and also decay.
Yeah, so it's evocative of things like nature versus culture, or, like high versus low. And I think all of that stuff is in Sean's work, like especially now that he's brought in things like the Belgian linen and the Romanesque sculptures as symbols or reference, and then painting over it with these and the colours that he's used are kind of pretty lo-fi.
Yeah.
Bright yellow, bright green, and that sort of obviously roughly mixed yellow, like yellowy aqua.
I think that roughly mixing idea, which we see a lot in more provisional painting, and I'm not saying Sean is not a provisional painter, but it's definitely a lot more tightened than most, is the rough mixing kind of still gives this air of ideas of deep time, as I was saying before, this kind of passing, this chronology. And that's what I love about the title in connection to the work, is you do get this chronologious sense of passing of time and of order passing through into decay.
But there's also, I think, and I know that it's been written a little bit about Sean's work, is the idea of practice. So I know in the past it's been referred to as ritual, which I think is probably taking it a bit too far.
Yeah, I would say practice.
Yeah, practice. And it is, a lot of artists have a practice where they just pump it all out at once. But you get the feeling with Sean's work that he's moved through it like on a daily basis, or it's a kind of personal activity for him. So we should remind everyone we're talking about Sean Bailey's new painting show,
Order and Decay, at Daine Singer Gallery.
You can find out details about it at Daine Singer, that's DAINE, singer.com, and the exhibition is on until the 9th of March.
And we should say also there's 19 works in the show, which is not a small show, and they're not massive, but the bigger ones are around 90 by 60 centimetres, and smaller ones are 40, 30 centimetres. So it's a pretty substantial body of work, I think.
It's a really generous show with kind of a wide range of, Sean's subject matter. But
also quite sophisticated and refined. And they're not expensive either, which was tempting for me. I had to take myself out of there because some of the works that I quite liked that hadn't sold yet were only $800. And I thought, if you were smart, this is, you would be doing this, because Sean's about to start his Gertrude residency this year. And he's really, he's going good places. So if you are a collector, I know it's sort of maybe not cool to say that, but if you are, I would get down to Daine Singer right now and snap one up. But you've got until the 9th of March anyway, so check it out. There's a couple of other shows on at the moment.
Yep.
Of course. It's sort of the start
There's
of the year.
always something else on in Melbourne, let's face it.
Let's get them in.
I might just quickly mention Kalimanrawlins. I popped in there the other day.
What's on there?
It's a big group show, and it's on till the 23rd. And it's just simply titled Group Show. But it's fantastic, and it has, approximately 2, sometimes 1 works from all the artists involved. And there's some really nice pairing, not only in the works themselves by the same artist, but in the groupings of artists displayed next to each other. So for a big kind of summer mixed bag group show by Kalimanrawlins, it's fantastically curated as well. I particularly liked in the second rule, Dane Lovett's, again, one of our favourites, his columns kind of on these gradient backgrounds. And then, right up against the corner of the room, and then on the other side of that corner is Nadine Christensen and her untitled works, but again, kind of mirroring a similar subject matter.
I love
this
the
kind of
work.
reference to art history of these columns and, long figures. And again, similar shaped work. So there's this lovely sense of pairing and really sensitive curation. In the front room, it should be worth noting Nell's AC/DC altar cloth from Chanting with Ants is
so
there.
good.
And it's a fantastic work. In fact, my favourite works in the show were both fabric works, that one, and also
Hey, you're squeezing in a
Renaissance
mini review
boots.
right now.
I am. I really dug the
You're
show.
so cheeky.
And I knew that I wouldn't have time to run it by you, so I thought, yes, got to get this in for Kalimanrawlins
Does
because
sound
it's
really
just
good.
really nice.
So
And
where's the gallery?
it's in Alice Street, and it's 9 Alice Street. It's right next to the bicycle store.
In South Yarra.
Yeah.
So you go it's in behind Chapel
It's
Street. really.
just near about a block from Jam Factory.
Right.
And close to Annapappus, so if you're doing the two, it's good to do together. The other show that I haven't got to yet, but it opened on Saturday, that I really want to see is the Neon Parc Drunk versus
Yeah.
Stoned, or Stoned versus Drunk, whichever way around it is. But it's a massive show, and I must say, it's a boys' show. There's a lot of boys in that show. There are a few ladies as well, but some killer artists, and I mean, it's probably, I can't reel them off right now because I won't do justice to all of them, but there's probably like 30 or 40 artists packed in. If you know Neon Parc, it's a tiny space, so I'm interested to see how that happens, and the concept for me sounds quite interesting.
And I just wanted to quickly mention debut 9, debut 1X.
At Blindside.
At Blindside, yeah, which is, again, another group show, and it's a whole bunch of recent art graduates from various Melbourne art
cool.
institutions. That is on until the 23rd of February. So you don't...
Blindside are doing that well, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're that sort of recent graduate thing. It's great that a space
and they've been
takes
doing
on
it for
that.
so long as well.
Yeah, this is the
and,
9th. So,
Yeah, it's
good
great.
on.
And also opening last night, which I didn't get to see, TCB and Seventh Gallery, so get down to that. Unfortunately, I was listening to the amazing Craig Shufton at the TOF, and he presented this great art/pop culture lecture on alt rock from 1990 to 1994.
So good.
And
speaking of
amazing.
lectures, those Sunday lectures at the NGV are free as well, and they're fantastic. I went
Every
to
every
the last
Sunday
one.
in February.
Yeah, I went to the last one, and it was really inspiring, actually. You know, you think when you listen to them and your heart races a little bit thinking, oh, this is good,
And they
something
are
good's happening in Melbourne.
Right on with the organisation of that. There's live tweeting occurring during it.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure it's broadcast
It
over
is.
the internet as well.
It's
so
on Radio
if
National
you're
or
not there,
something.
you can definitely check it out online.
Don't know about Radio National, but
It's
you
on-
can definitely check it
Yeah.
out online, as Ace says, at the NGV website. This is the Melbourne Now Talks,
Yeah,
which
they're
are a forerunner of the major Melbourne Now exhibition happening at the NGV later this year.
So exciting. What a year.
It's going to be good fun. Guys, thanks for coming in.
No worries. Thanks for
Pleasure.
having us.
We'll see you in a fortnight's time to talk more visual art.
See ya.